what I tell my students all the time is that finding facilities of all of like investing in self-storage, finding a good deal is the hardest part of the whole deal. It's the hardest part. All right. And this is where actually pretty much I would say 80% of you all are going to be giving up, because it takes a lot of time and effort to find a storage facility that fits into the parameters of what you're looking for. And the truth is that we all have different parameters. We all have different ways that we're looking at deals and different types of deals that we're looking at. So there's a lot of different ways to look and to find. All right. So what I want to say is what I want to say is finding facilities is the hardest part of the whole thing. Now, obviously, everybody in their mind thinks that the money is the hardest part, right? And now during the next year or so, it's not going to be challenging. It's going to be those that are creative win. All right, those that can be creative win, because obviously, interest rates are super high, right? And so when you have a really high interest rate, you have to offer a really low purchase price, right? And then of course, sellers don't want to sell you a facility with a really low purchase price, right? Because and of course, obviously, they just came out of the last 2 years where everybody was paying like top dollar, and they got like a super low interest rate, right? So it's like 6 one way, half a dozen the other. You got either high interest rates and low purchase price, or you got low purchase price and high interest rates, or like I said, low interest rates and high purchase price. You know what I'm talking about, right? So the funding part, you just have to learn how to be creative. You really have to just learn how to be creative. And we had for our mastermind this past Tuesday for Storage Nerds, we had Mark Helm come and talk. And I don't know if you guys know Mark Helm, but he's like the father of storage, really, in the United States. He's been doing storage longer than any of us newbies have been doing it. And I've been doing it for 7 years. And he basically, his very first deal that he ever did was also very creative, and that kind of set him on the path to just thinking outside the box, right? Remember, I talked about this last week. There's a box, all right, in storage. And that box is, I have to go to a bank and get a loan, right? And so everybody, 80% of you guys are thinking this. But the truth is that in real estate investing, you do not have to go to a bank and get a loan. Right now, going to a bank and getting a loan, most of the time is the cheapest money. Right? But not right now. It's a little bit more expensive, right? But the truth is even when you're creative, a lot of the times you pay high interest rates. I've always ever paid high interest rates. I've never paid a low interest rate. I had one of my investors he lent me money for 3%. That's because we've been doing it for 10 years. And he was like, you know what, Stacy, we've been doing this for 10 years. Just take this money. You can have it at 3%. But typically, I'm 8, 9, 10% interest for all the stuff that I borrow. Okay. So that means that I have to buy stuff at 50 cents on the dollar in order to, be able to afford stuff. Guess what? I'm buying my 16th storage facility right now, and it's 50 cents on the dollar. All right. So if I can do it, then you can do it. But guess what? In order for me to find 16 storage facilities that are 50% off, I have to do a lot of work. A lot of work. I know I make it look easy, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Okay. So this stage, which I call stage 1, which is finding storage facilities and then getting them under contract. Stage 1 is the hardest part of the entire process. All right. It is a numbers game. You can't just talk to 5 owners or look at a couple of deals and think you're going to find a storage facility. In fact, we call hundreds of thousands of owners on a weekly basis in order to find the deals that we purchase. Okay. And I wish I had enough money to buy all the deals that I found. Right. But I don't have that much money. But when you start getting into calling owners and talking to owners, then you're going to find deals, right? It's just that, it's a numbers game. Now, every once in a while, you'll find what's like, oh, I just called this, like, I have like this student, Sarah. She's like the first person I called, like, we're getting it under contract. And like Eddie, like the first person I called, but most of the time it's going to take a lot of time. So the rule is, for every 50 owners, one is going to want to sell. For every 50 owners, one is going to want to sell. All right. Now, remember now what I just said was, for every 50 owners, one's going to want to sell. I didn't say for every 50 calls. I said one for every 50 owners. That's about what we're seeing. For one for every 50 owners. So that means, how many calls do you have to make in order to find an owner that wants to sell? Now, remember, there's two different types of owners in the industry. Okay. First, there is owners like who I call, which is cold calling owners that have not been thinking about selling at all. Okay, when you cold call an owner, you're just like, randomly calling this person. They don't have numbers ready. They don't have their P&L ready. They don't have their books ready, right? This is a totally different strategy than going and hiring a realtor to find you a facility, or going on to Crexy and finding you a facility. Because those types of owners, they want to sell, right? Because realtors are only going to find owners that are listed. Like, realtors don't go off and find off-market properties. Every once in a while, you hear about this, but this does not happen really ever, okay? Because, in order for them to get paid, they have to put the deal under contract. So that really means that you're getting it from a realtor and they're going to have to get paid. Okay, so yeah, so there's two different types of owners. All right, remember, there's the ones that you're calling and they weren't even thinking about selling, and then there's the ones that are listed either on MLS, Crexy, LoopNet, all the different types of outlets out there for commercial property. Okay. So that is what we're looking for. All right. That is what we're looking for when I say finding facilities.